Hello?
Hi, Jeff.
Still no image.
Let me see. I don't know if it's me or not.
Okay.
Okay.
You had to ask me. It wouldn't let me do it.
Oh, all right.
Makes no sense.
I see Amy Donahue. Do you want video, Amy? Can you hear me?
Mary, I can hear you, but I'm eating dinner while I'm doing this, so I figure you don't want to watch me eat.
Oh, great. I don't care. I've got a lawnmower and a dog barking, so.
I have my dog howling in the background, so I've locked him out of the bedroom at the moment. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, I hear you. So tell me, Amy, you've done this before. If I click on my microphone here and mute it,
Yes.
then you guys can't hear the dog or the lawnmower, correct?
I don't hear it either.
I don't hear it anyway.
Okay, great.
But yeah, anytime you're muted, no one can hear you.
Okay.
Something was ticking. I couldn't figure out what it was. Still can't.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Gotta go back. I'm gonna have to rejoin. There we are.
Why can't I get in? Oh, there I am.
Click on.
Someone had contacted Jason Laz through the social media page to get the link, so I've sent that to him.
There's Karen.
My people are eating behind me, so I'm going to mute myself.
Just let me know when you want to begin.
Okay, nobody else has requested to join. Whoever contacted Jason may be having a little trouble. So we'll wait another minute or two.
Andrea Beckwith is connecting.
Okay. And Jason is contacting me again through email, so hold on a minute. I think if I minimize this, I can talk to him. Okay, I don't have anyone else, so I guess if you wanted to begin, you could.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Then my face will probably go off, and then, well, I'll be on the side. I don't know exactly how it's gonna be.
Down the street from the 3rd precinct here, which has become a flashpoint. Now, what you heard from the
There we go.
Can everybody see that?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. Okay, welcome everyone to the budget hearing for the 2021 school budget. I'm Dr. Stephen Young, Superintendent of Schools. Joining me today or this evening is Ms. Karen Capazzi, our business official. Every year at this time, we do have a public hearing to present the budget to the public, and it usually takes anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes, and we probably will hold questions until the very end. So I'll go through the slides, and Karen, if you have anything you want to add, you can feel free to jump right in. It generally is just a basic presentation, and what you see is what's going to be in the budget. So here we go. Sit back and relax. Every year we establish academic goals for the school system, including our graduation rate, which we'd like to maintain at 88% over a 3-year interval. This includes fourth, 5th, and 6th-year graduation rates. Second item that we would like to promote is student achievement in this, the core subject areas. Particularly in the last couple of years, we've looked at grades 3 through 8 ELA and math, and we'd like students to achieve at the 3 and 4 performance level, and our goal is to increase that by 4% by the year 21-22. The other academic achievement area we'd like to increase is the passing rates for Regents exams, although of course this year 100% of the students passed because of the pandemic. And there are no Regents exams. So 85% is our goal. Moving forward, we would like to reduce the number of students who are chronically absent. That's 10% or more of the school days. So if a student is absent 18 days, they're chronically absent. We want to reduce that number to 10%. Ideally, we'd like it 0, but we know that will probably be almost an impossibility. And then finally, student performance. We are given a score based on state parameters for student growth. And what we need to do is be above a 50 percentile. And that's what we hope to achieve in a few years. So the budget is sort of predicated on those principles of academic and student achievement. The budget you're about to see does include a number of provisions that we have to include by contract, including any of the contractual increases to our employees, both the instructional and non-instructional staff. It includes the cost that we have to put into pensions, as well as health benefits. It does also maintain almost all of the budget lines that we have seen last year. Now those are adjusted up and down depending on the history and the trends of what we need to fully implement the programs. It includes increases in appropriate fund balances and miscellaneous revenues this year. And every year we also reallocate, reduce, and update several areas of the budget depending on the needs of the district. So the budget also continues all of our programs, which is very good at this point. All of the programs at both Berlin Elementary School and the middle high school will remain in their current configurations and schedules. We are continuing to have all of the electives at the secondary level. We're very proud of a program we started about 6 or 7 years ago called School Within a School. That's going to be continuing, as will credit recovery. Distance learning classes will take place, although next year we're not actually producing any classes, we're just taking them in. And the budget also continues all of the extracurricular programs that we offer students. We are looking to improve in a couple of areas. One, we'd like to certainly hire an assistant principal / athletic director at the middle school, high school. We have put into the budget stipends for team leaders at the 10th grade, and then a combined 11th and 12th grade level. And in a review of our musical instrument programs and program, we do need to replace several of our musical instruments that are now going into the end of their life. And they're being extended, of course, with repairs, but we want to put in an amount of $20,000 for replacing some of those instruments. At the elementary school, we want to implement a literacy program, which is a big component of the need at the elementary school. And including with that literacy program is a summer curriculum training for teachers to implement that program. The program that we use now is really no longer being promoted by the company. It was phased out. So that was about 7 or 8 years ago we started that, and we are looking to make a change to a different program. Again, we have some stipends at the elementary level for an art club and character education program, as well as adding a monitor for the general school. In the area of exceptional education, we do have a need for an additional teaching assistant based on IEP, and we want to start an extended school year program for some of our students in the 812 class. Unfortunately, we can't have that as a regular classroom this summer. It has to be virtual based on the executive order that came down from the governor. There will be no summer schools, but we are still planning on implementing it in a virtual fashion. And last but not least, a coordinator for our therapeutic crisis intervention program for stipends for a coordinator for that. So what it comes down to is basically some bottom line figures. The budget itself next year, $21,897,642. That represents a decrease, believe it or not, from the budget from the year before of about $134,000. In addition to that, state aid was projected to decrease slightly by about $16,000. But what we were able to put into the budget, and hopefully it stays, depending on federal revenue, is something called the CARES Act. New York State was provided a sum of money, and our school district is supposed to receive about $143,000 of that sum of money. So we added that into the budget as a revenue stream. So what it comes down to, when we look at the taxes that we are going to, or the tax levy rather, that we have to put out to the voters, that tax levy, we have to raise about $190,000 compared to last year. So it'll be just shy of $9,800,000. That represents an increase of 1.99%. Keep in mind that we are allowed to go up to 2.57 with a 50% vote plus one. So we're well below that allowable tax cap. One of the fortunate things we did encounter this year is miscellaneous revenue stream. We got a couple of unexpected checks from various sources, one of which was a refund from the health, I guess from the health trust that we provide into every year. So we did get a number of, almost $500,000, I believe, that we were not expecting, which we're putting in as miscellaneous revenue to offset some of the costs. That's changes year after year. Some years you don't get that, and some years you actually have to give back money. Hopefully we don't have to do that for the next few years, because we don't have to worry so much about this year or next year. It's 2 years and 3 years and 4 years down the road that you have to budget for. So the last item in the bottom line figure is the appropriated fund balance is going to be $500,000, which is a decrease of about $920,000. So last year, if you recall, we did have a sum of money that we put into the budget, over $1 million, but we also had an expenditure of that $1 million. So that's coming out because that's one of the ways that you balance the budget. So we are actually reducing the fund balance, but it's actually increasing. Normally it's about $435,000, and this year it's going to be $500,000. Last year was an exception. So the revenues, again, have to really equal the expenditures or what it's going to cost to run the district. So the revenues are $21,897,649. So that's what basically it's going to cost the district to run our program for the 2020-2021 school year. So let's look at a few of the details. The largest expenditure in any school budget is always personnel. So the salaries and the benefits for staff, everyone in the district, is going to be roughly $16,823,000. That's not atypical of a school district. Usually somewhere between 75 and 80% of a school budget is salaries and benefits. And you'll see it in a later slide where we're right in that ballpark figure. So employee benefits and salaries for personnel are projected to increase by about 3.38%, roughly $550,000. Non-personnel items are going down by $642,000. Capital expenses are decreasing by about $42,000. So again, you add those numbers up, the total expenditures will be decreasing by about $134,000 or less than about 0.61%. So in a summary table, this is comparing what I just kind of went through in a nutshell. And if you look in the first column, that was last year's budget. Second column is this year's budget. Column 3 is the difference between the two. And there's a percent change, which is basically the percent change between year 1 and year 2. So like I said, there's going to be an increase in miscellaneous revenue. We'll take a look at that in a little bit more detail. The tax levy is going up by 1.99, about 190,000. Appropriate fund balance is coming down, like I mentioned. So the total will be just under $22 million. So breaking out the revenues and the state aid, this is just the state aid portion of the revenue, which is generally about 50% of our budget. You get foundation aid as well as numerous other types of aid, BOCES aid and software aid, high tax aid, and so on and so forth. But the bottom line, that's what you really have to look at, because the formulas that go into making these are really dependent on previous years' student as well as previous years' costs. And sometimes they go back 10 years. So it's very complicated formula that the state uses to determine what these state aids are. It also is determined by your wealth ratio and your property values. So it is a little bit difficult to kind of explain all that, but basically the grand total that we project for or from the state for state aid is about $10,822,000. So a little over 1%, about 1.2%. That's what we're going to anticipate getting from the state. And I just want to sidetrack for a moment. This is without any reductions in state aid. I know you've heard it in the news every week for the last for the last probably 8 weeks that the state is in a dire emergency in terms of revenue coming in. So the projected shortfalls are in the billions. And again, today in Governor Cuomo's address, he did say that if the federal government doesn't come through with what he anticipates, we could look at a budget cut in state aid, foundation aid, this top line figure, of about anywhere from 10 to 20%. He always mentions 20%. So that would throw the entire budget into a tailspin after the fact, after it's voted on. Then we'd have to make budget cuts. So we have a lot of planning ahead if that happens. The miscellaneous revenues are one item that I like to show, and every year it's different. It changes. You can't predict miscellaneous revenues in some areas. I mentioned earlier that we got a refund from the Health Insurance Trust. So these numbers are, again, estimates until they come in. And if you take a look, we are pretty consistent in some of the areas where we're predicting. But one area that we did have an increase is in this miscellaneous refunds. Prior year, we only had 84,000. This year, we have 547,000. So that's what I mean by it's an unpredictable amount. It's in our favor this year, but in other years, it may not be in our favor. So the bottom line for miscellaneous revenues, we are getting almost $500,000 to add to that budget, which does reduce some of the other revenue streams, for example, a tax levy. So those are miscellaneous revenues. Now, let's talk just for the next few slides on the operating expenses. The operating expenses, you're going to see many different tables here. The first few tables are about personnel and employee benefits and those types of expenses. So, you know, we have to pay our teaching staff, we pay our administrators, support staff. Those are these numbers in the middle column. The end column is again the percent change. Here's the change in from last year from this year to next year, and then the changes. So total salaries, if you include all of the salaries of all of our staff, they're about 1.83%, which is probably a reasonable amount considering cost of living and pay raises and contractual obligations. The benefits are also going up significantly, so over 6% down in this number here. And that's basically due to some of the costs that we have no real control over. So when the health insurance companies say, okay, you're going to get an increase of 10% or 15%, there's nothing we can do about that. So for example, the health insurance next year is going up almost 7.5%. The FICA not going up so much. This is because of new employees. It'll go up about 2.25, 2.27%. Workers' compensation is going to stay the same. Teachers' retirement, again, that changes from year to year, depending on what the state kind of evaluates it to be. And the employees' retirement, that also is a number that we're given. We plug that into our budget, and that's how we arrive at these numbers. We look at all of the staff, whether they're in the teachers' retirement system or New York State employees' retirement system, and that's just a number that we have to deal with. So finally, the total salaries and benefits go up about 3.38, all right, $550,000. Those are operating expenses for the personnel. Then, of course, everything else that's not related to a staff member or a person goes into usually non-personnel items. So buildings and grounds, instructional supports, BOCES fees, transportation, the cost of our insurance, our lawyers' fees, those types of fees and services. Basically, we've been able to trim a little bit next year. And you might notice buildings and grounds, that was reduced by $685,000. Again, I'm going to refer back to last year. We added a bunch of money into that category for some of the projects that we needed to get done that were not in the capital project. So that's where that money was being reduced. It's no longer there or no longer available. So the total is a reduction of about 13% in non-personnel items, roughly 4.4 million. And finally, these are the capital expenses. This is basically your debt service, your bus obligations, your bonds, which you have to pay for buses over a certain number of years, and any of your capital expenses from capital projects that you have to pay out before you get reimbursed. So there is, again, a small reduction, not that much, $42,000 in capital expenses. So all total, our expenditures, again, you add up that second column going through the last 3 slides, and it comes out to $21,897,49. And again, I'll just throw this slide up, is the revenue versus the expenses. And these two numbers should match up, so you have a operating deficit of 0.
Now it's on.
So I think the next 3 slides, we're required to put out in three slides in 3 different areas. What is our program budget cost? What is the administrative cost for the district? And then what are the capital expenses for the district? So you'll see 3 slides. The numbers are in different categories. And this is something that is available to the public when we put together the booklet for the general public. So we look at regular education, special education, occupational. Basically, again, program is what it costs to get students from their houses to the school, instruction for the day, lunches, and then going back home, including nurse guidance, library technology, and so on. So again, I mentioned the bulk of our budget is program, almost $17 million just for those student-driven programs. Administrative budget are costs that are outside the realm of teaching staff and other instructional staff. So this is your central office administration, your legal fees, your public information officer, your insurance, anything to do with curriculum. These are really mostly, if I had to say a category, it'd be district-wide costs, if you want to put it that way. Our business office, for example, under finance, employee benefits for those individuals, and BOCES administration. So the administrative budget is $2.366 million, about a $215,000 increase over the previous year. And lastly is the capital budget. So the capital budget is everything outside central office, everything outside instruction, and basically involves your maintenance and operations department, your central data processing, which is basically BOCES driven, your debt service, and then of course employee benefits for the staff related in those 3 or 4 areas. So the capital budget basically is going down by $707,000, which is now going to be $2.7 million. Again, adding up the program, administrative, and capital budgets, it comes down to the same number. It's $21,897,649. Again, I said I'd show a little slide what this represents. Again, program, 77% of your budget, capital 12%, administrative 11%. Again, nothing out of the ordinary here. This is almost every school district in New York State has very close numbers to this. Last year, I think we had 78 in program, 10% administrative, and I think capital was just about the same. So those basically are the budget items. Now, the next few slides are basically what your voters will have to vote on in the, of course, by mail ballot and sending it in. And I believe we're sending them out, or if they haven't been already sent out, the ballots. Unusual voting system this year. Personally, I don't think it's a fair way to do it, but that's what the governor said to do. Again, we have no control over that. We probably could have had people come in to vote and kept 6-foot distances between them and sanitized the voting machine after every use, but we don't have any control over that. So this is what they'll see in the ballot. They're going to we're going to ask them to have the Board of Ed authorize the spending not to exceed $21,897,649, beginning in July 1st, July 1. There'll be a proposition for bus purchase. We are looking for 8 types of vehicles to replace some of the aging fleet. We've been very consistent with this over the last, I want to say, at least 8 years in the purchase of vehicles and taking others out of service. The total amount that we would be spending is $475,000. Can't exceed that. If this goes through, that's in addition to a sum of money that we'll borrow against for the purchase of these buses. There are 2 members or 2 seats up for the Board of Education. There are only 2 candidates running. This is how it appears on the ballot. In this order, Derek Gardner and Frank Zwack. So they'll vote for 2. There are only 2 candidates, so I don't think there'll be any real tough decisions there. So just 2 other bullets I want to mention because they are kind of related. The budget that people vote on through the ballot really has no impact on the already approved capital projects that are underway. So, there might be a misconception out there that we're going to be putting more money into the capital projects. That's basically not true. The funds have already been appropriated, and they're kind of 2 separate issues. The second item I just want to bring to people's attention is that bus purchase also has no impact because we take a look at the amount that's coming every year for the buses, and that we want to replace with the same amount of money that we're replacing the buses with. So although there's new money that we're borrowing, the old money that we already borrowed goes off in a year. So it's an even exchange, a 1-to-1 exchange, if you will. So that's just something that Karen asked me to put in just so make it a little bit clearer. Now, coming to the end, what happens if the budget fails? There's several things that the Board of Education can do. If this budget fails, they can put up a second vote. And I think that vote would be very tight toward the end of June, if not in July. We, again, can't control the dates for this because of the pandemic that we're experiencing and schools being closed. The second thing that the board could do is just go right to a contingency budget. So that contingency budget has a number of items that we must put in. So you have to have the same tax levy as the previous year. You can't buy any purchases of equipment, new equipment. Non-essential maintenance cannot be performed. The district has to follow an administrative component cap. Remember I said that was about 12%. So in a contingency budget, that varies a little bit. Probably not all that much from what it is now. And then the last item, which generally we really don't do anyways, is charge fees for the use of school buildings. If a community wanted to come in and use the building, you now must charge a fee rather than letting them use it for free. So, and there's not a lot of revenue going to be there. So that's what happens if the budget fails. And that's the end of the public hearing presentation. Don't know if you have any questions, but I'd be certainly willing to entertain them if you have them. This will be put on the website tomorrow in a PDF format, so it will be available for anybody who would like to look at it. Okay. I think I'm gonna stop the sharing and see if I can get back to a video. Okay, I'm back. All right, I see a lot of people now.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Young?
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming out to the virtual public hearing. We've had more people at this than we have at previous public hearings, but it's very important that you exercise your right to vote. And we will let people know, I'm sure you'll find out, if the governor has changed the amount of funding, then we go back to the drawing board and see what we have to do in terms of changing reductions and eliminating programs and things of that nature. Because it will be about $1.5 million or $1.6 million. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay
Thank you.
safe, stay healthy, stay socially distanced.